Rescue the Fosters is about changing the foster system. We want to ensure every child has a safe environment to grow and become healthy, successful adults.
Additionally, when I was in the foster care system, I had to defend for myself. Rescue the Foster is here to empower the youth aging out of the system and offer resources to ensure they are not dependent on the government.
What we observed was that children become institutionalized and end up in prison and providing the government with more funds.
Rescue the Foster will provide coaching, resume writing, interview skills, professional attire for interviews, budgeting, applying for college, and obtaining housing.
We want these youth to live the most freeing, successful life possible.
It is their right and our responsibility to ensure that our future kids and grandchildren can live happy lives.
Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord.
Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you a hope and a future.
Good evening and welcome to Rescue the Fosters. I am Gino, your host, and as always, the co-founders and co-hosts of Rescue the Fosters, Sylvia Beachy and KK Emmett. Ladies, how are you this evening?
I'm good, Gino. I'm excited to expose some corruption tonight.
Sylvia, that's not news to us. that's like preaching to the choir. We already know that. KK, how about you?
I'm good too.
That's it? You're just good?
No, I've just been so tired lately.
Yeah.
Working in this rain and stuff. It's been raining, but now it's finally been sunny today.
Yeah, we had a big thunderstorm come through. It's been an awesome summer up here. We've had just really hot weather and rain only when we need it. So it's been perfect. And today we had like a 20-minute shower and then the sun came back out. So I get it. But KK, a lady, a few words tonight. So it's all right. KK just smiles and she lights up the screen.
Yeah.
Anyway, we have business to get to. Another Rescue the Fosters episode. We are going to learn another horrific story of how this corrupt system is ruining families and trying to ruin families. But I will tell you, everybody we have on here is a survivor. They fight, they claw, they scratch, they do whatever it takes, and they stand up to evil, just like we are all called to do. If you're a believer, you need to stand up to evil. We don't have an excuse as believers. That's what we are called to do. So without further ado, Sylvia, can you please introduce tonight's guest?
Yes, I would love to introduce Michelle. So her story is a little bit different because people don't realize that the court system, not only just foster care CPS, but it's also custody cases. So Michelle's case is more of a judicial kidnapping. Uh, Michelle Dickens is a Palm Springs, Florida native who grew up in the Deep South. She has spent the last several years working behind the scenes to investigate the rampant lawlessness that operates within the legal systems of Southeast Georgia, aiming to expose the predatory courts that have taken over local communities in the area. Welcome, Michelle.
Hello, thank you for having me, Sylvia and Gino and KK.
You are
You're
very
so
welcome. Thank you
You're
for coming on. We appreciate you and appreciate everybody that comes on to tell their story. So, Michelle, I think there's no better place to start than the beginning. It's so important that we lay each step out for the audience so they understand what is going on with this corruption. And most of our audience already understands the corruption at the government level, and especially in the anything to do with the courts. But what we're really focusing on are the family courts, juvenile courts, all these agencies that are pretending to serve justice and really are just kidnapping children and destroying families. So if you can start at the very beginning, we would definitely appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, my husband and I separated in May of 2010. And after that, in that January, my children and I moved to Charleston, South Carolina. During that time, my husband and I had our divorce pretty much settled. He had visitation every other weekend, and my children were enrolled in school in Charleston, and we were happy there. Life was good. We met in Savannah every other weekend for him to exercise his visitation. Well, after being there for about 2 years, my ex-husband used frivolous contempt charges against me. He filed charges against me for withholding 180 days of visitation, which he was never granted because we lived in two separate states, 4 hours away. It was only meant to harass me and to deplete my finances. He filed contempt charges against me for filing my taxes improperly. Again, that was frivolous, completely untrue. No evidence was offered for this, and yet Attorney Keith Morris allowed him to file these charges against me still, knowing that it was simply legal abuse, financial abuse, or paper abuse, whatever you want to call it.
And Michelle, sorry to interrupt, but you said Keith, was it Morris?
Keith Morris in Baxley, Georgia.
Okay,
Yes,
thank you.
contempt charges. However, Attorney Stephen Tillman was my ex-husband's divorce attorney, but for some reason he had himself listed as my attorney on the court calendar, and this continued for a couple of years where he's always listed as my husband's attorney. I mean, as my attorney, even though he was my husband's. So that was just laying the foundation for the confusion that continues for the next decade. Each time I was charged with these frivolous contempt, each time I was served with these summons to court to address these frivolous charges against me, I couldn't come up with the money to hire an attorney in a different state. And so I was ordered to pay Keith Morris $750 each time. And so I was either doomed if I did or doomed if I did not address these charges, because to be found guilty meant that, you know, I would have to absorb that $750 fee to pay Keith Morris. And to defend myself meant that I would have to pay probably a couple of $1,000s.
So just to be clear, and sorry again for interrupting, Keith was literally just assigned to you illegally. You didn't like reach out for his counsel. He just became your lawyer without you ever really consenting?
No. I'm getting this story a little mixed up, I believe. No, he was an attorney that my ex-husband went to start filing frivolous contempt charges against me. That was done only to deplete my finances. He made up grievances against me, offered no evidence that anything that he said was true, and it was only to bring me into the court system, because with contempt charges, that's an easy thing to do. You can draw a person into the court without even needing to offer evidence, at least in the Appleton County area. That's the way it's set up. Now, when Keith Morris did this, I reported what he was doing, and I also reported the fraudulent document that he was using from my ex-husband's attorney, Stephen Tillman, where Stephen Tillman and my ex-husband actually penciled in a new visitation schedule. And my ex-husband admitted to this in court documents at a later point, a couple of years down the road. But again, that information was suppressed. And the court system pretended that this was a proper way of operating, even though they clearly knew that this was just more harassment from my ex-husband. This time it was just through the legal system. After these frivolous contempt charges began to snowball, I didn't have the money to address them. And a third attorney came along, Attorney April Stafford, outside of Statesboro, and she determined that this was an emergency situation because I was accused of filing my taxes improperly, and I was accused of withholding a half a year's visitation, which is preposterous because we lived 4 hours away and my children were in school. I was accused of drinking and driving. I've never been caught drinking and driving, never been in trouble for drinking and driving. There's no record of that, but it was allowed to continue through the court system. I went to school one day to pick up my children. It was the day of the Sandy Hook shooting, actually. And so I remember seeing that in the news and thinking, at least I'm lucky that my children, are not there. But I went to pick up my children from school in Charleston, and I was met with officers, armed officers, and I was given a stack of documents, and I was told to hug my children goodbye. And they left that day with their grandmother and went back to Baxley, Georgia. And I did not get to live with them again for over a decade. I was told to go to court to address these frivolous charges, again, accused of filing my taxes wrong, accused of drinking and driving, no evidence of this, accused of withholding visitation. None of these charges against me were anything about abuse, anything about harming my children in any way. And so for me to have endured a decade of separation from my children because of that is just obscene. It's absolutely obscene. But that is the origins of my story. Frivolous contempt charges.
So sorry to hear that, Michelle. Go ahead, Sylvia.
Well,
Sylvia, were you? I thought Sylvia was going to say something. Sorry.
No.
I'm sure I'm jumping around a lot.
No,
you're good.
Doing great. Yeah. Very clear. So a common theme we've seen is pinning crimes on people that have never committed a crime, and then there's no record of it. That's the irony of all ironies. And this is the one thing that's confounded me, is like, how in the world can you go into a courtroom and they don't see anything on your record, but yet they say you have a record? Like, that is mind-blowing. But again, that shows the criminality that's going on within the court system because there's no oversight. There's nobody watching these people. That's the problem.
There is not. I know that for certain because I reported attorneys to the bar. I reported judges to the bar. Everyone that touched my case and turned a blind eye to what Stephen Tillman and Keith Morris and April Stafford did, and also what Paul Cook did. Every single person that was in a position to help, who was required to help, each person that turned away from me, I feel it's imperative that we make it clear that they have squandered their opportunity to serve the people because they're asleep at the wheel sometimes, and in other times they're more than complicit. They're actively engaged in the corruption. After I picked my children up from school that day, I'm sent home with these papers, told once again to pay attorney Keith Morris $750 for this harassment that my ex-husband is using him for. I'm told to go to court on January the 8th, and I don't see my children again until then. So I go to court January the 8th, armed with all the evidence. I showed Judge Wilkes, Judge Ian Wilkes III. I show him my W-2 forms and say, look, I did not file my taxes improperly. Please leave me alone about this. This is only harassment. I show him my divorce decree, our settlement agreement, where clearly the children live with me in South Carolina. It says it plain as day where we live. It says where my husband lives. There's no way that anyone can believe that my ex-husband has 180 days of visitation. But the judge wanted to do a favor and suppress the evidence, pretend it didn't exist, or whatever. I should probably back up and mention that my ex-husband's stepfather built the jail, J.L. Miles Company, and that's also my ex-husband's uncle, step-uncle, who owns that company. He had two brothers that are in law enforcement. His wife has a father in law enforcement, and so I just had the deck stacked against me just from all the connections. He had an aunt who worked at the Georgia Baptist Children's Home. He had connections in the counseling system, And, you know, I had been out of Georgia, me and my children, for over 2 years. At that point, I had no connections, didn't, you know, didn't have, you know, any money even to defend myself. And so when I went to court that day, after not seeing my children, I think it had been 29 days at that point, I asked the judge if I could at least have dinner with them. So he gave me 2 hours of visitation. But after that court hearing, I saw that there was no semblance of justice, that they were clearly out with an agenda, and they completely ignored every single bit of evidence that exonerated me. And I knew that I was working with a strange system. And so during that visitation time, that 2 hour visitation with my children, I took us back home to South Carolina, and I went to a place called my sister's house, which is a domestic violence or a domestic abuse shelter there in North Charleston, South Carolina. I told them what was going on, but they said because it's already involved in the legal system, there's nothing they could do to help. However, that is where I learned about, well, I learned the definition of financial abuse and legal abuse and paper abuse. And so that was the first time that I had an understanding of what it was and could actually put words to what was happening with me. But it just didn't end there. April Stafford continued to thwart justice. She hid transcripts. There was some court transcripts that was hidden away in Glenn County for some reason. Transcripts that were gone, not filed until 2 or 3 years later. There were documents that never seen the light of day. There were depositions that did not take place. I had one attorney, Paul Cook, tell me that I actually did not live in the state of South Carolina, even though we had been there for 2 years and my children were in school. But he was playing a weird game too. And later, I learned that attorney April Stafford of Statesboro, Georgia, would walk around with a large sealed manila folder that was private, and it was to imply that there was a sexual abuse issue involved in my case. I found that manila folder, and when I opened it up, it's a sex abuse case for another child. But I know that she fanned that around to make it seem that something was wrong with my case that was very unseemly. But remember, all of this began with frivolous contempt charges. There was no abuse alleged. After she worked hard to separate me from my children, she had to drum up some sort of something to make it stick. And so she just spent the rest of her years harassing me, sending me to psychological evaluations, and trying to send the kids to all of these psychological evaluations. And she would just bounce us around the system. And Paul Cook, my attorney that I paid money for, he helped her with this, and he accidentally sent me an email one day where he confessed to dragging his feet, purposefully delaying my case. And so I wrote a letter to the bar about that because we had had issues with him for a long time. And we had other attorneys look over his work, and they recommended, even before I wrote to the bar, that I should have done it actually months prior, because he was, again, trying to lay this case out on a crooked track, because they had a clear agenda, and it was not to serve justice at all. It was simply to keep me separated from my children indefinitely. When I went to that domestic abuse shelter, I learned about legal abuse and what it means and how to define it. And then I went back home there in Charleston where me and my children lived. And that night I was arrested. And then I was sent to the North Charleston Detention Center for a couple of days. And then I was extradited down to Baxley, Georgia. And I spent about a month in jail there. I was told that they couldn't release me out on bond for my first hearing after I was there for 2 weeks, because they said they found evidence of Satan worship in my home. in Charleston. To this day, I have no idea what they're talking about or how they would even say such a thing. But
I know
they said,
somewhere where there is Satan worship, and it's not in your house.
for sure, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Wow, that's crazy. I didn't even know you could charge somebody with something like that.
well, they
Just
said that they
random,
could
just
release me.
random hearsay, right?
Yeah, that was Investigator Jason Carter, I think. But yeah, it was ironic because I actually used to teach vacation Bible school to his little nephew. So to have him tell me that that they found Satan worship in my home was kind of a mind bender. But small town politics. So
Oh my gosh. Michelle, there's so many things that are just dumbfounding. And the fact that they get away with it on all these accounts. Now, what was the actual charge that put you in jail? Was it the Satan
kidnapping,
thing? The
2 counts of
kidnap. Okay.
yeah. They said they sent out an Amber Alert when I'm
Oh my
you know
gosh.
the
Can we
children.
pause right here?
Yes,
Because everyone needs to know that the Amber Alert is used for parents that is trying to escape the government with their children.
some
Okay, nobody,
yeah.
yes, and people
It's
think that these are kids that are kidnapped by strangers, and you can literally listen for an Amber Alert and then Google the story. Every one of them is a parent that was either at a DFAT's office, supervised visit, and they're literally just so exhausted from the system that they take off, and they use the Amber Alert. So that's why they use the Amber Alert on you.
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
it's the law-abiding parent bucking the system, trying to get their child back to bring them to safety, for crying out loud.
I say I was a justice refugee. I was a refugee for justice because I was not getting it in the Appleton County courts. I'd been harassed by the courts at that point, probably about a year and a half, because it started a good while back. These little contempt charges, and I just couldn't shake my ex-husband. No matter what I did, he was going to harass me and follow me everywhere, and he found a nifty way with the court.
What? Why was he so bent on harassing you? I mean, he already had custody, but was it just like a vengeance thing? I mean, he just despised you that much? He had nothing
Um,
better to do with his time?
no, no, he was very angry, I guess, that we moved away and that he didn't get custody in the divorce. And so he made it a point to retaliate until he got what he wanted. And he had people assist him with that. And I was
And
an
the,
outsider.
and there was never any criminality or anything charged against him. It was always on your side.
I didn't have
Never
a
had no.
connection. No, his brothers are in law enforcement. His stepfather built the jail. His step uncle built the jail. I mean, he's good and entrenched in that system. It's the good old boys club. Kelsey Rayner, only a couple of years ago, died in that same jail. He was arrested for selling produce from the back of his truck without a license, and he got a death sentence for that. He died while they watched it on camera over the course of hours, and his family has still not seen justice. And it's these same exact people that I'm dealing with, and Kelsey Rayner may never see justice unless his story is publicized more. There's a case in Statesboro where a father has been separated from his daughter for going on 3 years now, again, stemming just from a normal divorce hearing, and April Stafford is involved in that case once again. The father it was found out that he was set up to begin with after he wore an ankle monitor for over 2 years and had to pay good money each month to wear that monitor. He was banished from his home. He lost his job. And it took him 2 years to decide that he was actually innocent of that to begin with, but by then all the damage was done. and he still doesn't have access to his daughter because they said that the civil case and the divorce can't move forward until this criminal stuff is cleaned up. But he was set up by an attorney and turned into a criminal in the same way I was turned into a criminal when I just could not pay the legal bills that they kept throwing onto my household. And they're free to do it with contempt charges. They're free to file charges on you indefinitely. I have charges saying that I didn't allow unrestricted telephone use. I mean, it's the most vague things that, how do you prove that? You know, how do you even defend yourself against it? No matter what you do, you're going to have to pay money for it. And that takes money from the children. That takes money out of your refrigerator. My little boy couldn't sign up for Boy Scouts because I'm paying legal fees. This is embarrassing that we have a system that is supposed to protect children, but they're greedy for money, and these lawyers just bounce people around and they feed off of these children. They feed off of the finances of the poor people that just can't even afford to defend themselves, but they squeeze whatever they can, even out of the poorest of us. If you look at my divorce decree, it tells you I was bringing home $1,700 a month. And Keith Morris wanted $750 of that within 60 days. And then again, $750 within 60 days. He wasn't doing this to make sure my children and their household was safe. He was doing it to make money off of us. And he found a good client in my ex-husband because my ex-husband would just keep sending them contempt charges my way as long as Keith Morris would take them, you know, as a client.
Yeah, they put you in this catch-22 situation where you're damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Exactly.
I mean, then you look like an abuser. Well, she's not taking care of her children, you know, or if you don't, it's just they get you coming and going. I feel like this is the same story over and over again. It's a little different in your case, but I mean, Sylvia, KK, how many times have you heard that exact same thing?
I mean, it's just so sick. It's really sick. It's human trafficking. It's legit human trafficking.
Oh, and all these counselors that are tied into the court system, they're all making money. These attorneys send clients to their friends, you know, these other counselors, and they pretend that they're doing something good for the court, but they're just all making money and they're writing up whatever the attorney wants them to. You know, it's so hard to even find a good attorney. I had a court hearing where they used my psychological evaluations and said, oh, she's too positive. We can't let her have her kids because it says right here that this doctor says she's too positive on her evaluation. And that's in court transcripts. And I think, are you kidding me? My court transcripts, I've got a counselor there who was with the Georgia Baptist Children's Home said that my children were traumatized after going to a minority-based school. And they said this on the stand. And I said, what do you mean a minority-based school? My kids are not racist. Are you racist that you think my children are going to be traumatized by going to school with children of all races? They're crazy. I don't know what's wrong with these people.
Yeah, and then they would turn the table on you if it was the other way around. They're going to use whatever they can. And this is the problem, Michelle. I mean, you already know this, but they get away with it because no one knows it's going on. That's what our mission is to bring awareness to this. This is going on in courthouses, and I use that quotes, all over this country. This isn't specific just to Georgia. This is everywhere. South Carolina. I mean, we have cases in, gosh, I don't know how many different states we've represented on this show. It's the same thing, same playbook.
It is. It really is. And we just have to confront it and reject it. I don't know what else to do except reject it. I just won't participate in that system. And I know that other people are more vulnerable because they already have their babies, you know, so what can you do? But if you've got a chance to run and flee and find true justice outside of the bounds, then you're probably safer to at least try. You really are, because in Southeast Georgia, there is just no system that's working anymore. And I say that not only because of what happened to me back then. I only just got off of probation, August of 2024. Every single year for 10 years, they would sign the paper saying, no, I still have to continue supervised visitation. My children were already graduated from school. My son was living with me, and I legally could have gone to jail again because I was breaking probation, which said I'm supposed to have no contact with my children. And so when me and the children found each other again after they were finally old enough, we had to hide what we were doing and meet each other in secret and talk in secret and send letters in secret and pretend that we had no contact with each other. And we had to do this for years until they graduated school because they were so scared of their dad. They were scared of the court system. They were scared that they would go to jail if anybody found out that we had been talking. And it's humiliating, and my children are traumatized because they couldn't even live a natural, normal life because they had to protect this secret that scared them. They were so scared that if anyone found out, we would all go to jail if anyone found out they was talking to their mother. That is twisted and horrifying to do to any family.
That's satanic. They're the satanic worshipers. Now, Michelle, I know you told me because I do want you to back up because I know they stalked and harassed you,
I,
literally.
they did. April Stafford sent a private investigator into my children's school um, to get the teachers to write an affidavit about the the grades on my children's report card, which was fine. But it was just that sort of intrusion. My ex-husband went to my employer, lied to him and said that I was trying to sue him for sexual harassment, which was not true. I liked my employer. He went into two different churches, talked to the preacher, talked to the congregation, so show paperwork to try to make it look as though I'd done something horrible, like these little contempt charges, you know. And I lost friends. I had people that distanced themselves from me because they didn't want to be caught up in his craziness. He would call the police to my door for a welfare checkup every night in Charleston. And the police had to even get on to him and tell him to leave him alone or to find another way, you know. And so we didn't find peace. Even though we were 4 hours away from him, we did not find a bubble of peace because he and the legal system harassed me and followed us even there. His aunt worked with the Georgia Baptist Children's Home. I think she's affiliated with CPS or DFACS or something, but she was a counselor there with the Georgia Baptist Children's Home in Baxley. And she harassed us. She harassed a landlord. She used to call CPS on him and accuse him of hurting my children. My ex-husband would accuse the landlord of hurting my children. So that landlord kicked us out of our home after being bothered for a while by them. And so my ex-husband and his aunt made us homeless. And so we had to stay with another friend for a couple weeks until we got our new place. And then we were living at the new place for probably, I think, about 9 months. And then we were arrested there, you know. That was the last place that me and the children lived all together. And they loved it. And that was the video that I sent you, Sylvia. That was the home.
Oh. And that
Yeah.
was right before all of this started with the kidnap charges and all of that.
Yeah. Yeah. That was our last December, mid-December 2012. That was the last time we all lived together as a family, except for now that, you know, they're adults and after they graduated.
Yeah, Gino, I didn't send you that video. We don't want to show that on here. But it was a video of her daughter just like walking around like this is like loving life. And she
I
is
didn't even I didn't even see that video until after I got out of jail, and it really helped. It it made me feel better, you know. So I watched it many, many times. It didn't help the court because you know they didn't want to see any of that, but
right. So what happened when after you were not allowed, like, when did you get bonded out? You were there a month and
I was there
then
for a month. Yeah, got bonded out, and then the criminal case, they just kept kicking the can down the road for a couple years because if they don't tie up the criminal case, then they couldn't go forward with the civil case, you know, to get me back with my children again. And so they just kind of used that tension and enlarged it and delayed it, and eventually, I think it was 2014, 15, or 16. I can't remember when it was. I was finally sentenced to 10 years of probation and no contact with my children. And that was done that was when Jackie Johnson was the district attorney. And Jackie Johnson's the one that got in trouble for her role in the Ahmaud Arbery murder, for covering up some evidence and doing favors. And so she's the same DA that was, you know, in charge of my 10 years of probation.
so
And
you
so
got 10 years probation, was not allowed to see your kids.
for the duration of my probation sentence, I was not allowed any contact with my children. I couldn't send a letter. I couldn't send a gift. I couldn't have a telephone call. I couldn't have a text message without the threat of going to prison. And so that's
Isn't
why I had to hide so deeply, because, you know, if their father had found out, they would have been in trouble too, because their father had cameras inside the home, like over the fireplace mantle and in the bedrooms and stuff, because he's, you know, he was that kind of person. And
isn't sorry to interrupt, but isn't 10 years a bit excessive for for probation? I don't think I've ever
yeah,
heard of that.
remember, this all come from me being accused of filing my taxes wrong and of withholding half a year's visitation, just fabricated stuff, not a shred of evidence that I did that. And I actually, even Keith Morris even used my divorce decree, which has the evidence that my husband did not have half a year's visitation. He sent that to the court. The evidence of my innocence was included in those documents, and it just was not acknowledged because it wasn't meant to be, because there was an agenda, and that was to give my ex-husband what he wanted. And it was just friend, you know, doing favors for friends, and also covering up Stephen Tillman's mess. And they did not like that I reported it to the bar. They didn't like that I sent a letter to the judge explaining what was really going on. And, you know, no matter what, they just was not going to give me a win, and they would not see justice in my favor at all, because they were just angry at me at that point, because I wasn't going to pretend that it was a proper system, you know.
Wow.
And now, you know, we've got Graham Floyd, the Solicitor General, covering up dash cam footage for the Appleton County Sheriff's Department where a civilian chased another man down, you know, and the the corruption just continues. It's it's no different than it was back then.
Yeah,
Michelle,
it
are oh, sorry, go ahead, Sylvia.
no, I was just gonna say it's not different, and they're getting more bold and more blatant in their corruption, almost like a arrogance and a cockiness of who's
Oh,
gonna
for
stop me.
sure, for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, can you blame them? I mean, no one
Yeah, they
can
get away
stop them.
with it.
Yeah, they own
Yeah.
everything. So, are those elected positions there, or are those appointed?
I'm not really sure. I don't know.
I'm not
Maybe
sure.
it,
If I had to
it
guess, those are probably appointed.
probably.
If it's the good old boy club, they're just been running
Yeah.
their friends in one after another. Wow, that is heartbreaking. I'm sorry you've had to endure all that. Okay, so Michelle, you have become a person of action, and you've been doing some research and investigating on your own. And can we kind of go into that lane now and shift gears and
Well,
shed some light on these roaches?
oh my gosh. Well, I would start with April Stafford for one, because as I said, she has a habit of turning cases into an emergency. even if there is no emergency, she wants it to look that way on paper so that she can separate parents from children. And this is done from from simple divorce cases before it even turns into a divorce. As part of the separation, that's kind of her mode of operation. She trapped one person there, the one I told you about earlier, who's been separated from his daughter for going on 3 years. The judge, Lovett Bennett, actually had to recuse himself from that case because he and her had together made such a mess of what was going on there that he could no longer be trusted to have any sort of oversight on it, and he had to be removed. The Hernandez family, I'm sure y'all may have heard about that already, Tucky and Matt Hernandez.
Yeah.
I interviewed her, let's see, in April of last year, I believe. And I was afraid that it was going to be a long, drawn out case, but I never would have guessed that it would take over a year later from the time I interviewed her, as well as the other case. It was over a year ago that I talked to that father. There's a case in Appleton County right now where Austin Randall Williams got in his vehicle and chased down two motorists on a dirt road, and then he called Sergeant Dusty Davis of the Appleton County Sheriff's Department, and he complained that these two vehicles drove past his home going fast with loud music. So he got in his vehicle and he chased them down the dirt road for about 7 or 8 minutes and parked in the middle of the road, pinned one of them up, and waited until the police got there. And then the two young men were arrested and charged with a DUI. And for almost a year, let's see, that was September. So for almost a year now, they've not allowed one of the cases to proceed forward because they've been suppressing the dash cam footage. And no matter how many open records requests have been sent, it's been denied. And even when the client hired an attorney, Jennifer Craven, that attorney worked with the Solicitor General to continue to suppress this dash cam footage. And so even the attorneys that you hire cannot always be trusted in this system anymore because they work together to shake these people down and to squeeze the money out of them. And so we have a recording with Attorney Craven where she's trying very, very hard to get her client to not ask for a jury trial and to not keep asking for this dash cam footage that exonerates her client. And she instead wants him to suck it up, take a guilty plea, and just move along. And when her client refuses and again asks for a jury trial, she withdraws her services because she is that adamant about not having anything to do with this dash cam footage, because this dash cam footage implicates the officers in Appleton County. And that's just the system that the people have been living with for a very, very long time. And in fact, if you go back to, I believe, about 85 or so, Sheriff Red Carter was arrested and a few other people because the sheriff's office had a big drug ring going on, and marijuana was being brought in by the plane loads right there in Baxley, Georgia. And so the GBI came and scooped up some of them, but it's still the same system. Even though those guys are out, it's still the same system and it operates the same way. You know, we've got Sheriff Mark Melton with his sweet young things on the side. Certain little girls get favors and they don't go to jail when they get caught with drugs because they keep him warm when he wants them to. It's the same system that it always has been. And even I have to endure some retaliation from them because I do speak out. And I believe that it's important to say the names and also to show the documents. I've got the paperwork. I've got the paperwork for other cases. I've got the paperwork for my cases. I've got the signatures of these people. They can't hide what's being done. It's there in black and white for all of the world to see if we can just get enough eyes on it to where there's action. Maybe eventually these people will be removed. However, the processes that they lay out for you don't seem to really make a difference. When people talk about accountability, it just doesn't seem to exist, or if it does, it's just luck, because we all know that the state bar very, very rarely reprimands one of their own, you know.
Unless it's someone they don't like, unless it's someone that's fighting against them, then they all go after them.
Yeah.
I mean, the good old boy system is just, and they're such miserable people, right? Because your ex has to be a miserable person. Like he literally, I would not like to be him, because for him to have to stalk, harass, and torture you for so many years just goes to show his character and who he really is.
Yeah.
I want to
And
speak. Oh, sorry. I just
no, go ahead.
while you were talking, a couple thoughts came to mind, and I was thinking, a lot of these areas you're talking about, I'm guessing, are sparsely populated, right? There's not very
About five,
dense rural
actually.
areas, right? I mean, good old boys can run amok all out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I would venture to say these would be conservatives, Republican types in these areas. This is why we always say it's not about politics, but at the same time, it is about politics, because this is very political from that angle. But politics isn't going to solve the problem. So if you go and you're voting straight Republican ticket and you're like, oh good, everything's going to be sweet and fine and we're going to have justice, it's just not the way it works, unfortunately. And especially, I mean, it seems like in the South, this is a very common thing. Not as common up here. There are some rural areas where I live, and there is good old boy type stuff going on in those areas, but I don't think it's as prevalent
It's
as
not
it
just
is
rural
in the South.
areas here, it's not just rural areas here. I mean, Cobb County is like Atlanta, Marion. It's not
No,
rural
no, I'm
area.
talking about what Michelle was talking about, the areas she was talking about. And I think
Some of
that's important to note, because I know we've heard this so many times, like, well, if a conservative was in control, this wouldn't happen. But it's just not the case. These people need to be exposed. There's evil on both sides. There's good people on both sides. I think they're misled if they're far left, but I mean, that's my personal opinion. But at the same time, like, these people really need to be held accountable, and not just held to, like, are they red or blue or left or
right,
right? Like, these are just criminals.
Exactly.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's good
Well, I
versus
mean, they're oppressing their entire community. The community is ill when you have people in power like this. That means no one is safe. No one has a fair chance at true justice when people like this are running the system in small towns or large towns.
Mhm.
It can't be tolerated. It has to come to an end, and it has to come to an abrupt end.
Well, what is the remedy for that, to bring this to an abrupt end? I mean, do the when you can't get justice anywhere, who do you rely on? You
Underground
can't
Railroad.
trust the FBI. I mean, hopefully we can start trusting the FBI again as they start cleaning things up federally. But the GBI, it doesn't seem like they're doing much to solve problems.
No, everywhere you turn, there are connections and friendships. Because when you think about it, it's not that many people in the system in the state of Georgia or in these counties. It's the same ones seeing each other day in and day out, and so they get very familiar with one another. And you know, I don't know. I'm not exactly sure
we
what.
need someone willing because even the DA is not willing to prosecute a judge, is what I'm told. So that's just, we need someone to stand up. Like,
Yeah. Well, I try to keep my focus very localized because I can only manage so many names at a time, and so I want to make sure that I go in depth with those, and so I just try to focus on pretty much the Brunswick Judicial Circuit and a little bit outside of that. But you you just keep seeing the same names over and over, and you know that you know it's not a coincidence that this many people are getting snared by these same attorneys or in these same courtrooms. It's
You know
not
what?
a coincidence.
No, that isn't a coincidence. And you know what always boggles my mind? These people have families. I can't believe there's not good people in their families that recognize this and go, man, what's up with Uncle John? I
Yeah.
can't believe he keeps doing this. Like he doesn't seem like a good guy. Like at some point
No,
you
these
gotta
people
like
are shunned.
recognize this stuff,
We
don't you?
should they should be ostracized and shunned, and they should not be accepted when they behave this way. They don't deserve a smile when they're walking in the grocery store. They don't deserve any sort of warmth or comfort when they're hurting their communities this way. Until they start to operate properly, they just don't belong in our communities. Those are the people that need to be away so that the people can breathe and be safe. We know who the wolves are. We're seeing them day after day. We know their names. And it's it's difficult to get people to believe it because we're hardwired to trust the justice system because we're supposed to be able to. But once you've been in the thick of it, you see that there is just no justice system at all. There's not. If you've got one bad seed, he's running it for that entire courtroom. And you've got communities with 10 bad seeds. And so what does that mean for the people? When you get arrested, what shot do they have of any sort of justice? It's
Do
it
you
just can't be tolerated.
do you get a sense that the community understands that there really isn't any justice and that we're just gonna get along to go along to get along and that we'll just smile at, so and so when he's walking through the grocery store because they're just in fear that something
I
could
think
happen to
there's a
them?
lot of I think there's a lot of passivity. I think some of it's a popularity contest. These are the big names on campus. But I think a lot of it is just people are passive. They don't know that much. They're not very much aware, or if they are, it doesn't affect them that deeply. Until it affects you deeply, maybe you're not going to say very much. But once you've been wounded, then you're a lot more apt to talk louder. And I see a lot of people that are talking out now a lot. When Kelsey Rayner died in the jail, there was some publicity there for a little while. We saw what happened with Ahmaud Arbery. There was a lot of publicity around him. And so there's still chatter, but, it just has to stay amplified. It can't be just for a moment and then die down. It has to continue until these people are removed and replaced with someone who has integrity.
yeah.
When you say publicity, was it like local news covering this, or was it just kind of social media and things like that?
What with Kelsey Rayner, we had there. I know NAACP came to Baxley and marched. Um, there was a few other people. I know there's a lot of Facebook activity regarding him, but if you pull it up, there's a horrible video on YouTube. Um, he did not have to die. He shouldn't have been in jail. He was already told to be released from jail because he was ill. And he died for selling produce without a license because the officers did not want to let him out of jail. They were angry at him, and so they made him stay, and they wouldn't They would not let him go to the hospital, and he died right there on that floor while they watched on the video. And the mother tried to sue, but it didn't go anywhere because she's still having to deal with these same people that I'm telling you about. You know,
Why were they so angry? Because he was rebelling against what they told him to not do?
it's a farming town. Hold on just a minute. Yeah, it's just a little small farming town. I'm not exactly certain all the backstories, but somebody was doing a favor for a friend, and so they kept him incarcerated when he should not have been. I'm trying to pull it up for you, but y'all could check. I'll let y'all pull it up because I don't want to mess up whatever I'm doing here on the screen.
Yeah, I was trying to pull it up for Gino because I don't know if you're able to pull it up, Gino.
I'm looking.
K-E-L-S-E-Y, right?
Yeah.
And then Rayner,
Yeah.
is it R-A-I or
Rayner.
R-A-Y? See, I'm not familiar with this story either, but I'm not close to Batsley. Batsley's like 4 hours for me, I think, 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah.
So I'm not too familiar with that area. I know that Savannah is a huge trafficking area because of, the water,
There's also a lot of witchcraft in Savannah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I've got the video up. This is from the news.
Justice for And in Baxley yesterday, friends, family, and supporters rallied for justice for Kelsey Rayner. Rayner died in his cell in the Appling County Jail back in 2017. An autopsy reveals he had sepsis caused by a ruptured colon, and his family says he did not receive proper medical attention. Rayner's family wants the case reopened.
We want to get the FBI involved and to investigate this case, reopen this case, because the GBI came in and investigated this case, but Jackie Johnson told them there was nothing to see here. So when she told them there was nothing to see, they closed the case.
The family says they want District Attorney Jackie Johnson to step down. They also want the officers who arrested Rayner 11 days before his death to go to jail.
Oh, these DAs, there's something. And the DA is set up to eventually run for mayor and then higher political offices. Some of them end up in the governor's office. Like it's like they're just being prepped to be corrupt from the very get-go. Like, and then it's about a point system, like how many wins do I have as the DA? And wins to them are just illegal, like acts. I don't know what else to call them. Like they're not really wins. They're just playing a game that's so lopsided and unrighteous. I don't know. I know, and I've thought so long and hard about this. Like, how do you correct that? Because it's so entrenched, not only in Georgia. This is in, pretty much all the states. Like all 50 states have problems with DAs running amok like this.
Shame them and publicize it. Or publicize it to shame them. That's the only thing I know.
Warn the people before they get there, just like April Stafford. If you're dealing with April Stafford, like now is your chance to know not to trust her, to record those conversations that you have with her. Don't give them, and there are ways to fight back, but unfortunately a lot of people don't even know until they're in it, just like you. Like you were learning, and so now you're trying to teach other people so that they know before the April Stafford gets to them. So it's kind of what we're doing, is like warning the people.
Yeah, I think probably the most important thing to know is that it's not necessarily about the truth. If you think that you're simply fighting to prove the truth in the courtroom, the game may be entirely different from that. And that's what I learned the hard way, that truth was never going to be accepted because it wasn't meant to be. They didn't want it in there.
Well, that's very insightful because I never looked at it that way. Like that's the automatic reaction, right? Of someone to prove the truth. Like you're like,
Yeah.
look, here it is. Look, here
Yeah,
it
you
is.
think that that's what you're there to do, but they're not necessarily there to present the truth or have the truth known. I think of them kind of like an insurance company now, where the knee-jerk reaction is to deny you, and then you have to fight to prove, that you do deserve coverage or a defense or whatever,
Yeah, there's never going to be a presumption of innocence like the Constitution affords us. That's really sad to know that if you get stuck in one of these systems,
Well,
it's being railroaded.
if you can't trust the attorney that you've hired, then you're in a really bad way. And I have at 3 times seen an example of that just right there in the Baxley area, where attorneys were paid a few $1,000s, and instead of representing their client, they tried to derail the natural flow of justice and actually cause great harm to their clients because it made more money for them to do so. And
it seems like if you're having a meeting at one of their offices with these attorneys, you just got to start recording everything. And if they don't allow you to record, you walk out of their office. And then
Don't tell them. In Georgia, you don't have to tell them. In Georgia, as long as you're a part of the conversation, you can record them. And that's what I do. Just automatically record.
I do, yes. When I call the DA's office or attorney's office or whatever, I always record now because I've learned that it's important to do so, because many times they'll give you 1,000 different answers to the same question depending on what day you call, and so you just really have to be adamant with them and sometimes show them their own words. And
they'll deny it then too. It is quite comical when you catch.
It's fun.
Yes, because then they start, oh my God, that tongue starts going backwards so much, so fast, it ain't even funny. Or when they get arrogant and decide to respond on Facebook, and then they realize, oops, I shouldn't have done that, and then they start deleting. Sorry, I already got the screenshots.
Yeah, I received an email from Solicitor Graham Floyd in Baxley the other day, and it was actually addressed to Stupid Lady. I guess he has me listed as Stupid Lady in his contacts. And I'm sure he didn't mean to send that to me, but he did send it to me. And I don't know. I'm not really sure how to have respect for some of these people in the system when they've proven that they don't deserve our respect.
No, definitely.
There are some good ones out there, but I've got a list that I know are bad guys, and they're not worthy of my respect or anyone's.
There is a hubris with these people that is unsurpassed. They literally think their crap doesn't stink. Like they're literally just walking around with their nose in the air, so pious, because there's no oversight. I don't know how to state this enough. Like when there's no oversight, no accountability, the money keeps flowing in. I think I'd probably be arrogant too. I'd be like, do whatever I want. I mean, it's I don't know. I mean, it's the same thing with the Title IV funding we talk about all the time.
Well, I was going to say I wouldn't, because I'm not that type of person. I don't think Michelle's that.
I wouldn't either. It's just
like, the arrogance, it's pride that got Satan, right? That's what got his fall, and it's pride that's going to get their fall too.
Yeah.
It is a haughty spirit. That's what these people have. And it will come. The day's going to come. Justice always eventually finds a way. It just doesn't move fast enough, in my opinion. But I mean, like what we're seeing with the Trump administration now and all the deep state stuff coming out. I mean, that stuff, that's 10 years old, some of that stuff. like when some of those plans were hatched against them, and it's finally coming to fruition. And I feel like that's the same type of thing that's going to happen in all these cases we've covered, is eventually the truth does rise to the top. Whistleblowers come forward. Really all it takes is a few people to be subpoenaed and a grand jury appointed, and all of a sudden people start talking. All
Yeah.
of a sudden they start just like singing like little birds. So that's what I'm hopeful for. Like that is going to eventually come into your case and others like yourself, Michelle, that have been railroaded, literally railroaded, framed. Like it's so ridiculous. 10 years of probation and unable to see your children. Like that is unheard of.
Yeah, that was a heavy sentence that they inflicted on my children. And so my children lived in a violent home. Lindsay, the woman from the video, had a horse whip that she would use on my children. And the court said she was a good mom and she deserved to have them with her and my ex-husband. Eventually, my ex-husband hit her so hard in the face that she got stitches. And so then she left after that. But all the people that protected Jeremy in the court system was well aware of the violence that was going on inside of that household. And all of those people continued to protect the ones that harmed my children. They knew of the violence and they allowed it to continue, and they put my children in a dungeon and kept them there. And I will not forgive that. And
Yeah,
so
these
here
people, boy, that's
talking.
just pure evil right there.
Yeah.
They forget that kids grow up.
And kids talk, and kids have a lot to say. And they have a lot to say about Amanda Towns, also a counselor there in the school system. I showed you the report, Sylvia, that she fabricated.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a dirty network, but they're pretty predictable also.
Yes, they have a
all
playbook,
Yeah.
and it's a script,
Yes. Yes.
and they don't know how to go off script.
Mm-mm.
It's quite comical when you throw a wrench in their little script.
Yeah, we need to edit their script. That's what we need to do.
Oh, we are.
I'm sick of the same
We
script.
need to edit him.
All right.
Wow.
Well, I think that's my story in a nutshell.
Well, no, there's a lot there, and to put your children in the hands of abusers, like
Knowingly.
these people and they sleep at night. Like somehow they lay their head on a pillow and they go to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in these small rural areas or even in larger towns in Georgia, and you're ready to talk because you're sick of seeing this stuff going on, you're sick of seeing children being abused, you're sick of families being torn apart, it's time for you to step forward.
Yes.
If you're a man and you're allowing this,
Well, he was not much of a man.
I'll tell you, men have to answer for a lot more than the women will on Judgment Day. Let me just tell you, we're supposed to be protecting those that are vulnerable, and they're not protecting them. They're feeding them to the machine. It's time to come forward, man. I keep it Christian, but I always say, testicular fortitude. It's time for that, man. We really need you to grow something, because it's ridiculous what's going on with families in this country. You think God's pleased? If you're a believer, if you're a Christian and you're allowing this,
be vocal. Be vocal when you can.
Gotta talk. Time to stand up. I don't know. I feel like we're gonna have some people coming forward.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of people that are sick of it. They've been in the system for a long time. They've witnessed horrendous things, and their conscience is starting to finally get to them. And hey, there's plenty of time to repent. Come back, come talk to us, come talk to others that are doing the hard work, trying to rescue children from this disgusting cesspool. And look, I mean, like Michelle, look, like this is ridiculous that this woman had to endure all of this for nothing. Like, this
Birthday,
is
Christmas,
unbelievable.
Easter, all of those holidays, we were apart. Not only were we apart, but my children were living in a dungeon and being abused by their father and their stepmother. And the courts fought very hard that that happened to them. They made that happen to them. And they retaliated against me and punished me for trying to protect my children.
The court system is complicit in the abuse that
Absolutely.
happened to her children. 100%. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Our good friend Gar said, truth isn't relevant in court. Law isn't relevant in court. It's a theater. The decisions are made in the dark before the show. Cameras in courtrooms would make a big difference. Agreed, Garth. The cameras, but they're going to allow cameras in right now. They don't even let us come in on Zoom calls sometimes. Like, that's how crazy it is.
Yeah.
But we have cameras in daycare centers and we have cameras in schools. Why not a court system?
Oh, because it's in the best interest of the child, Michelle. Don't you know they're trying to protect children? That's why.
Yeah.
They talk out of both sides of their mouth. And they talk out of another part of their body that I won't talk about.
Literally. I mean, you start catching them, they start talking every which route they can think of.
Wow. Well, Michelle, I'm so glad you came on. Is there anything else you wanted to let us know, like with your investigative work?
Well, right now I'm doing some things kind of quiet. And so I don't want to make a lot of waves because I've already got some people mad at me. And so I will share more when I'm able to. Afterwards, here in the next couple of weeks, I'll reactivate my Facebook page and share a few more things. But right now I'm gathering more paperwork. And sometimes you just give these people enough rope and they will hang themselves.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And we are working on some
stuff. It's okay
stuff.
to let them think that you're a fool because sometimes that's when you get the best evidence.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we are
Is there
working.
anybody? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say we are working with Michelle behind the scenes. So give us a few months and there's going to be some great things coming out.
Yes.
Good. Is there any other locals? I know you mentioned some people that have been through similar things, the harassment. Have you kind of joined forces to expose this?
We have, I know Ryan Ralston with the Innocence Project. He helped a lot with Matt and Tucky Hernandez's case, getting publicity for them. And so he's focused very much on their region, him and a grassroots group.
That's Forsyth, right? Forsyth County.
Yeah. Back in 2016, I went to a prayer breakfast at the Capitol, and a mother named Victoria Anderson, she spoke about her experience being separated from her children. At that time, it had been 5 years since she had seen them, and she was in Forsyth County. And her two children were adopted, two little adopted young boys, and she was a victim of domestic abuse. And so her separation was just another arm of that abuse against her. And to this day, I don't believe she's had any contact with her children since then. She just lost them and hasn't, I don't think she's ever been able to find them again because they were with their father or adopted father. And let's see, I know PJ Bradley, his mother, Bobby Bradley, has printed up a lot of billboards and put around the Statesboro area to help publicize his case and to drum up a little publicity because he wants to be able to see his daughter again, and it's going on 3 years. And he should have never been separated from her, but again, that's just a little storm that Attorney April Stafford conjured up against him. And now she's just trying to maintain the status quo. And some of these people are just stuck in the quicksand of these court systems, and attorneys try to frame it so that they can never find their way out. I mean, my case never really found any closure. My civil case just kind of aged out. I think by 2018, there's just really nothing else left to do. except wait for my babies to grow up so that we could find each other again, on social media, which we did. But it's rampant there. It's rampant and it's thick, and there is no justice system operating in Southeast Georgia. When you've got this many people trying to thwart justice, then you just don't have a system at all.
That's the part that's really difficult, is just knowing that the time that's lost is never regained. Like, you can't get that back.
Mm-mm.
And I don't even.
Nope.
Well, so sorry, Michelle, but thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. I guess we're gonna have to have an update when you finish your investigation and have you come back on.
Yeah.
Well, I've had a list of names for a good long time, and I've been able to obtain what I wanted over the years. But now there are new names that just have landed in my lap. And so I'm just kind of adding and enlarging the story, the expose.
Maybe we need to rent some billboards just like that other family did and put their pictures up there.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wanted.
Yeah, that would be great. Well, thank y'all for having me and giving me
Thank
an
you so
opportunity.
much.
Thank you, Michelle.
We're going to let you end your meeting, and then we're going to stick around and just close out the show.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
Y'all have a good evening.
All right,
You
you
too.
too.
Freeze?
I don't know. I can't tell.
Sylvia's kind of frozen too a little bit.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
I think Michelle, I think she ended, but
think-
it's just stuck.
I think it's frozen.
I don't know what's going on with Zoom lately.
I love her little names. Oh, we're probably blowing it up,
Starting it on fire.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. What a horrible situation.
What a horrible people. I mean, they're
I
just so
don't-
miserable. Like, how miserable do you have to be to harass and stalk a person and make her life miserable? Like, can you not have, go get your own life?
Go golfing.
Yeah, I mean, get a hobby. Like, why are they harassing and stalking single moms that are just trying to have a good day? It blows my mind. I don't know.
Georgia's a beautiful state. Couldn't they go hiking or climb mountains or something?
Oh my gosh, it's so pretty. So, they really should just go through it for a mountain drive and maybe play some music, or, get out of their head, maybe. Maybe their
That's
head
why
is
these are
bad place.
sociopaths, right?
Yeah.
Psychopath, like all the above. That's the only explanation. I mean, I know it's the money too. Like, obviously the money's a big deal, but to keep doing this and get like a thrill, like the other day you said someone was dancing in the courtroom, like,
Yeah,
because they
a
took her
CASA
child.
worker was dancing when and that was Ruby's case, Gino. That was Ruby's case.
Yeah, I figured.
They terminated her rights, and when the judge named her name and terminated her rights, the CASA workers started dancing. Like, you're evil, and God don't like ugly. Like, that's ugly. You're muted.
Makes you wonder if they're dancing. Thanks for being so nice. It makes you wonder if they're dancing like in some satanic ritual. Like,
I mean,
not just dancing for
it
joy.
is like what Garth said. It is a ritual. It's not, they're just, and oh my God, sitting in court, they gloat and slander. Like, they're slandering the person and they're gloating about it. Like, I don't even know how these people sleep at night, honestly.
I know, we've said it a million times, and that's a true statement. Like, how do you? I mean, I've done bad things in my life, especially when I was younger, and at night I'd be like tossing and turning, like, oh man, I probably shouldn't have done that. Like nothing horrible like what these people are doing, but like, little things when you're growing up. And it's like these people are like literally destroying families, literally
And laughing about it.
trafficking children. Yeah, and then laughing like it's fun, like it's a little game.
KK,
That's
you got
sadistic.
something to say?
What did you say?
I said, you got something to say?
No, I've just been listening right now. I have a lot, but I'm just listening at the moment.
Well, you can let it go because we're about to be
Yep,
done with the show.
No, but
well,
I mean, a lot of the things I'm gonna say is very repetitive. Like they do the same thing, how they make the parents have to go on probation, just like the kids, they put them in jail. That's what they did to me. So it's really the same thing that they do to the children, is the same thing that they're doing to the parents. The same treatment is going on. And it's heartbreaking to hear that. And they don't really come up with any other new rule books. They just go with the same rule book and keep adding and adding. And just, I mean, this is the short version. There's a lot, but yeah.
Right.
well, KK, you've seen it firsthand. You've done a lot of court watching yourself and been in the court system as a foster child. So, I mean, you've
Yeah.
seen it firsthand.
Yeah. I mean, it's sad because they expect you to show up to court, but they don't show up to court, like the case managers or even sometimes the lawyers. It's sad because it's like you make us have to go and you're not even there. Like, I mean, even when I court watch, a lot of them, I don't remember what specific case it was, but I remember they were even talking about, like, oh, well, judge, I can't make it to this. I got vacation. And, oh, well, can we change it to this date? Like, they want everything to work in their way. It's like, oh, no, you have to do it when I want to do it. You can't do it when it's your time. Like, they don't care. They don't consider other people's time. They expect you to show up. They expect you to drive. They expect you to be there on time. And they can really just get away with it.
The Constitution affords a speedy trial, and these people put you through the mill. But again, they don't
Thank
use the
you.
Constitution. They don't need it there. No need for the Constitution in family court, juvenile court system.
Out court.
Well, God sees
Don't need it.
everything, even the hidden things. He sees it all at the end of the day. So, I mean, even if, even though they might not get it here, they got eternity. So that's really where the real judgment's going to be at the end of the day.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
I have a feeling they're going to get it in this life, though, KK.
Well, I'm
I
just
really
saying,
feel.
you know.
Yeah, I get it. I know what you're saying. But I am very hopeful that justice is coming. And it's God. I feel like God told me this, it's been almost 5 years now, when he said justice will be swift. It was gonna take a while, but then all of a sudden it would be a fast thing. Things would change very quickly. And so hopefully we're in that season. I don't know, but Babylon, she is a fallen. And these people will pay. I pray for them, pray for my enemies, pray that they repent, turn from their wicked ways. They can still be saved. But they deserve justice, nonetheless, whatever
It's
that looks
also
like.
the free will.
yep,
Yeah, they have
that's
free
part
will.
of it. Yep. They
They
and
can choose to walk away. They could choose to, like, no, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to, I'm tired of torturing or hurting families and children. Like, they could literally walk away if they want, but it's up to them.
Yeah, quit being operatives of the devil. That's what I would recommend. Come to the light. Be on the good guys team. All right. Well, that was a good show. Michelle was great. Glad she shared her
yeah.
story, and I know she's working on some things. So hopefully expose the evil that is down in the deep south. Gosh, I used to think, oh, the Bible Belt, it's so wonderful, and in the south,
No,
and
they just use the Bible to cover. They
that's
they
it.
use it as a cover, and they use so it's all just names that they use, just like fake Christians, right? They use the word Christian as a
It's a
cover,
cover. It's a label.
conservative as a cover, Republican as a cover. It's all heck, like just don't trust any of it. Just know the person, who they are,
Their
and
fruits.
yeah, and you will know them by their fruits. And it's really easy to determine if they're good or evil. And it's really sad how many people have chosen the evil side. And like, I never thought I would see this many people choose the evil side. It's really sad.
Thought it was a quick buck and I guess jump in. Oh, maybe I'll just get in for a little bit and make some money. Who am I hurting? A couple families. Who cares?
And it's
My
not even
family's
that
good.
much money. Some of these people are like not even doing it for that much money. Like, it's like, come on,
Well,
guys.
they're jockeying for positions too. Let's face it. I mean, you become a DA or something like that, or mayor of a town.
They're
And
lovers of
climbing.
money,
Yeah, lovers of power, money. It's the
lovers
three
of
things that corrupt
themselves.
all people: power, money, and sex. Those three things, or a combination. So, well, on that fun note, oh my gosh. Anyway, hope you all have a great weekend. Even though we're not at the weekend yet, I don't think
Right.
we're going to be back. So, thank you for joining us over on Rumble, Foxhole, X on my account, and John. John, thank you again for streaming for us, brother. If you guys can like, subscribe, share, that would be amazing. We would definitely appreciate that. Ladies, any final words before we end the show?
No, just stay tuned. I'm very vocal on Facebook. If you're looking for updates, go follow me there. It seems to be the place where most people are responding to me. And yeah, we'll have another good show next Wednesday.
Yeah, here, I want to, just so people, am I muted? No. Okay, good.
No.
Want to go over to Sylvia's page. She's been lighting it on fire. Sylvia, you're not banned on Facebook yet. I can't believe it.
Shh,
But
don't say that too loud.
she's been just calling out everybody. And you're getting like good responses over there. Like literally, like lots of people are looking at your content and sharing, which is
Yeah.
excellent. That's what we need.
Yeah, we have, well, see, the system has literally harmed so many people and they've destroyed so many lives. And when they destroy lives, they take everything. They take their house, they take their job, they take their kids. And you know what happens when people have nothing left?
Get really bad. Well, it can go two ways. Either they become that caged animal that's ready to fight and rip your hand off, or they go the other way, which is
Well, what happens usually, because when you're in grief, the period is a paralyzed state. But I think we are coming out of the paralyzed state, and that's what's happening. So you have literally eaten yourself, you corrupt people.
yeah, I agree. Okay, well, have a great night, everybody. God bless. Take care. KK, Sylvia, great show. Love you guys. Everybody have a blessed night.
Insecure and left alone to defend for ourselves. We are praying to the Lord for when this nightmare is going to end. How many more sleepless nights? How much more pain and tears do we have to endure? When can I see my family or someone who cares for me? Are we not good enough? Or are we just some test rats that have to follow orders? Are we just worth $1? Or are we actually being taken care of? Our hearts are burning in pain, and tears keep falling from our cheeks. Tired of crying and having our emotions in cycles. Our voices are being empowered by the ones who have more authority than us. However, today is the day it ends. No more feeling ashamed and leaving abandoned. We are standing up tall and raising our voices high. We are a child of God, and our work has just begun. God thinks we are worth enough and worth fighting for. God has our back and no need to fear. If God is for us, who can be against us? Romans 8:31. Now one more child is going to be left alone and abandoned. Thank you, Jesus, for all you have done for us, and all glory goes to you. In Jesus' name, amen.